everyone. Hey. I am just going to start sharing out. I hope everybody is well. Happy Friday, everyone. We've made it through another week.
Brilliant.
Oh, yes. We've got one in the chat, two in the chat. If either of the two you guys could say a wee hi for me, that would be brilliant, because that lets me know that you can hear me. How is everyone? How are you all?
I'm good.
Yeah, amazing. Yes.
Oh.
I've had some shopping therapy today.
You know what? People say, "Hey, Noreen, thank you."
Hi, Noreen.
Do you know people say that about shopping? Like, yeah, it gives me some sort of therapy. I am the worst shopper in the world because I get agitated and I'm like, please.
I plan mine. I plan it where I know I'm just going to go in and out. I know exactly what I'm going to get.
Yep.
That's what I've got to do, and because I don't get stressed then.
See, that's it. Tonight, guys, we are going to be talking about ghostly castles. And tonight, as you can see again, we are joined by the one and only Tim from the Weird Room. I'm slowly trying to get him to stay. Slowly. I'm working my magic.
Yeah, it's great. I don't mind. I love it.
Well, you can stay anytime, love. You know that?
Yeah.
I've got no problems. So, ghostly castles. I've investigated a few castles myself. I'll talk about my first one. My first one I ever investigated was a place called Barony Castle, and it was in Peebles. And it was a brilliant castle. So very, very beautiful. And honestly, I was mind blown. And I always joke about people. People think I'm joking when I say this, but literally at their front door, they've got this plaque that literally, when you walk to go in, it's above you, and it says to prepare to meet thy God. And I chuckle because I think Titanic.
Yeah.
So it's a beautiful place. It's said to have Alistair Cowley was there. Now, for people that don't know who Alistair Cowley was, he was a Satanist, and he's apparently Barney Castle had a vortex connected with Alistair Cowley. If you look at across the world, Alistair Cowley's been there at some point. The man was very, very well travelled.
Yeah, he was.
He was. And see if you actually go onto YouTube and put in Barney Castle, you'll see like a air view of the place. And apparently it's got like a sort of, how to describe it, a lake that's shaped like Scotland. Right?
How clever. That's clever.
Oh, very, very, very beautiful place. It has got a really good history when you look at it, and don't get me wrong, like when I investigated, there was two like rooms across from each other, and I had anxiety about it, but I was fine downstairs. But as soon as I reached the top of this, and I said to the guy that owns the team, you know, I feel something's either happened here or here. Turned out there was a fire that killed a woman and her children. In the rooms that I was pointing at. Even that night when we went into this place, I think it was like kept for storing stuff. And it used to be an ambulance for all the ambulances back in the day. And when I went in, I obviously seen the room when it used to be way back. I couldn't really put a century on it. Given more time, I would have been able to put a century on it. But I went into the room and I seen this black shadow, and I seen like marks on the wall. So I started to communicate with a spirit. I was just at the crucial point, and we had to pack up. That breaks my heart when that happens.
Does my
Yeah. It
But
nearly
it's
always
a
does,
really,
doesn't
really
it? It nearly always does as well, right at the end.
oh he was. Hiya Nicola, hi William, hey Woo Riders. Noreen saying hi Nigel, hey Robert. Alistair Cowley was not a Satanist for fuck's sake. Okay, sorry, Collis, William. Collis, I do apologise.
It was
Alistair
an
Cowley was in the
occultist.
British intelligence. He's a very interesting, very, very interesting guy, honest to God. Lynn, the beautiful soul that she is, sent me recently tarot cards and they're Alistair Cowley's tarot cards. There's another castle called Castle Fraser and it's in Scotland. It was built between 1575 and 1636 in East Scotland. It's famous for its architecture. It is a really beautiful castle. When I looked at it today, I thought, oh wow, that's definitely one. And I know people will laugh when I say this, right? I have said this in previous shows, so I will put it out there. I did say that I'm sick of seeing bloody castles, right? Because there is literally in Scotland, you cannot turn, but there's a castle. There's where I live, literally, if you go, because like the town that I live in, it literally runs. Like, you ever had a town where it runs into another town, it runs into another town, and people can't tell the difference where they actually are because it's just a big. That's kind of where that I live, and it's a Drossing castle. That's a beautiful castle as well. So I definitely. So I'll eat my words tonight, folks. So it's got beautiful farmland, beautiful gardens, but it's apparently got somewhat a horrifying myth that, according to legend, that a young princess once stayed at the castle was brutally murdered in her sleep. Her body was dragged down the stone stairs, leaving a trail of blood. Sorry to be graphic, strong viewers' discretion advised. As hard as they tried, the occupants could not scrub the bloodstains from the stairs, so they decided to cover the stairs in wood panelling, which remains to this day. Some say the ghost of the princess still roams the halls of the castle at night. So there you go, folks.
Oh, wow.
So what interesting castles do you guys know of?
I know two. One is in my own town here, and one's down the coast. The one down the coast is the one that was on I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here. Do you know when we had the
lockdown? Wow.
Yeah, well, I've been going there for years and years and years before somebody bought it for £1. If I'd have known, I'd have bought it myself.
Why? See, this is great. I would love abandoned buildings. I'm very fascinated with Lennox Castle. I would love to buy a castle just for £1.
Yeah. Well, they've done all right off it, but we used to go there. You know, our first group used to go there. I used to go there on my own with my sister as well. But the place is really interesting. So it was built about the end of the 1700s by this Scottish lord and whatever, and they were there. They had this Scottish name. It's got a Scottish connection. Stunning. It's absolutely stunning. But there are some rooms which are still left. So when they done I'm a Celebrity, they had to go and because there's a lot of subsidence on the castle, it's got trees cutting through and it's cutting it in all parts around there, which is a damn shame. But there's a lovely little room underneath. You go down the big stairwell. It was all made of marble. And my sister, I got took there when I was a baby before it was closed, but my sister used to go there when she was a little girl, and they used to have a little steam railway running around the area, around that castle area. But this stairwell was covered in red carpet. They had a room full of swords and knights in the armory and everything like that. Although they never had any, it was just for show. Bottom of these stairs on the left-hand side, You can go down there and go through a little corridor, which brings you into another little room. So when you go into this room, it's getting dead good now. So when you go to this room, you walk through the door. There's no door left, but the architraving's there. And you go through the door, and you're looking down this long room. It's not that big, but it's there. But in the bottom right-hand corner, there's a little fireplace. Now, in this room, apparently that's where the butler used to live. So it was a very important room, because that's where the boss of the house lived, if you know what I mean. He controlled everything. And when myself and my sister went down there, we were getting tight chests. Because we pick up, she's passed over now, but I still do it. And I pick up what people, spirit want to contact me. They'll either speak, they'll show slightly, or they'll make me feel what they passed with. And this chap had definitely had a heart attack, and he died in that room, definitely. But he was still there. He was still there. So there's a lady in white that walks up and down the stairwell. We've done lots of sitting it out at night, you know, in the dark, just waiting for things to happen. We've seen some things, but you couldn't actually say that it was anything. It could have been mist. It could have been anything. But there are a lot of spirits. But across from there on the fields, there was a lot of battles between the English when they came to invade Wales. So apparently them fields were running in blood. Now, really interesting. Further up, now there's a little boy there as well, and who was I'd say he was a stable lad, and he used to help out. His name was Tom, and I found him 18 months ago because we went and done a ghost hunt with this group. I went with my group from Liverpool, and we went over there. There was only about a handful of us, and we were picking up on Tom, and they were looking. I said, he's here. I said, he's telling me his name's Tom. But when we went in another room, somebody got one of these spirit things out, and he said, I'm back, it's Tom. So, and they looked at me to say, how did you know that? But he was following us round. So it's quite a haunted building. But if you go further up again, you can cut through the woods, past that field, and there's some caves, right? Two of them have filled in. There's another one, and I've got an absolute stonking EVP of a spirit laughing in the middle of our circle inside that cave.
Oh, wow. Do you know what? All I can say is thank God it wasn't the Scottish, because usually it's English and the Scottish, but I can honestly safely say it's no. I'm going to jump into the chat, guys, because it's building like nuts. Here's my Irish demon. Woohoo! Friday night, and my Irish demon is here, Jenny. Hi, Sarah Louise. Nice to see you, love. She says, Jenny says, turn in the corner and we see them in Ireland. Well, tell me about it. Alistair Cowley practiced them. Please look this moment up. Look up this movement. Funny enough, William, I'm going to actually, with my old shows, I'm going to be remastering. I've had deep thought about my old shows, and they definitely need remastered. And Alistair Cowley will definitely be part of it, because I find him an interesting guy. Ray Rider says, I heard Alistair Cowley's last words were, oh no, this is right, what have I done? Not so good. TJ, hiya! My dog growled in an empty room. It was furnished, 2 couches in that castle, Lynn. Hey, Chris. I'll definitely look at that at the end, my lovely. I've already read that one. Way Riders, my dad's side of the family is from Galloway and Dumfries. Oh, wow, that's pretty cool. Definitely. Hey, Kate. Thank you so much for last night, love. But it's definitely an interesting subject.
Yeah. Can I tell you another story?
Yeah.
Story?
Yeah, can I tell one?
Right. So where I live, we've got a wood, right, and it's called Wepper Woods. At the end of the wood, we've got a castle, which is called Ewloe Castle, spelled E-W-L-O-E. And that was built, it was finished about 12 something, long time ago. Now, many years ago now, one of my my best friend's brother asked me if I would make a paranormal group. I said, I'm not interested. And he mithered and mithered and mithered. Him and his wife mithered. Anyway, they started following me to work and waiting round for me on lunch times, right? It got to the point, I said, right, I'll tell you what I'll do. You give me some, you're going to start doing paranormal work. You bring some places for us to go to. We'll go and do it. He did. I didn't think he would, but he did. So I said, I'll tell you what then, what we'll do, we'll go to Ewloe Woods and we'll start from there. It was Sunday afternoon, right? Sunday afternoon. And it was snowing. It was in the November. So we went for a walk through the woods. I filmed it all. I've still got the film. And I could see this. We were stood on this platform where the big stair is up to the top of this thing in the castle. And I could see this spirit walking between the woods, between different trees. And I was looking, every time I looked, he disappeared. And I said, did you see that? No. And I was looking and it just, anyway, we went back. And the next day I went to work. So we're on a Monday now.
Mm-hmm.
During the night time, I had this dream. And in my dream, I was back at the castle on that platform, looking for this guy. And this guy came over the wall from the moat, because it's only a small castle. He came over the wall. He was medieval. He had an archer's clothes on, the cape, the lot. And he came over to me and he was dirty. and he said, Lynn, my name's Emlyn. That's what he said. My name's Emlyn. I want you to see how I died. The next thing, something went past me. And don't forget, I'm dreaming this now. This fellow went past me, young guy, jumped on Emlyn, knocked him over, ripped. He had a stone, like an Iron Age tool, and he ripped his heart out and lifted his heart up. So I started to run. And as I run, I started to float. And the next thing,
wow,
bedroom. And I didn't know where I was. I've never been in this house before, didn't know the room, nothing. But I was watching orbs. I'm a bit funny about orbs. I'm not a bit like that. So anyway, the door opens and this woman, this woman comes in. This woman is somebody I worked with when I worked in Chester. And she asked me why I was in her bedroom. It was a box room, right? And I said, I don't know.
Oh,
Lucy, I really, really do not know. Anyway, the next thing, the door opens and this Emlyn walks through the door. So I woke up. I thought, what a strange dream. So I went to work. On the Monday morning, I went to work and I thought, I wonder if Lucy's here, because we worked in different departments. So at lunchtime, she came to the canteen. She said, I've got to see you a minute, get a coffee. So she gets a coffee, comes to sit with me. She said, I've got something to tell you. And I was quite intrigued. I said, well, I've got something to tell you. She said, hold on. She said, I need to speak to you first. She said, why were you in my bedroom last night?
Oh my God.
She said, you were in my bedroom last night. She said, looking for orbs. I said, you're joking. It was that point I realised that I'd been astral projecting and I've been doing it for years.
Holy shit.
This is the only person who's actually come forward who actually seen me.
Bloody hell.
Yeah, and this actually happened. And I said to her, so who was there? She said, well, this man coming. She described what he looked like. 2 years later now, me and my sister took 25 people on a ghost walk up to the castle one September evening. And we sat there telling ghost stories, right? And I told him a story about Emlyn, about how I seen him in the woods and when I seen him in the house. And I said to him, I shouted out, I felt right dickhead. I shouted out, I said, Emlyn, I said, I've brought all these people to see you. Why don't you bring your friends down to see us? We can get a photograph together and it'll be really nice. We can all have a chat. Well, about 20 minutes later, one of the girls in the group, she come up to me. She said, I don't know what I've got here, she said, but I've got this photograph. Do you want it? I went, well, it's mine anyway. I'll have that one. Right. And this is what I got.
Nick, you're the IT guy. How do you make it single screen?
I got it. I can do it. It's actually quite simple. It's actually much more simpler than you think. You just click on the corner. It says solo layout. But here.
Can you see it?
Ah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Check that out.
Yeah, I can.
Holy shit, man.
That's Emlyn. Can you see his
Oh,
beard?
wow.
His
Yeah.
beard, his face.
Yeah.
He's got a lady to the left of him.
Yeah.
There.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
He's got
That is
he's got either a sword or a stick or something there. You can see his legs, you can see his cape.
The full
Oh,
figure.
wow.
Yeah, that's my Emlyn. And he lives in Yulo Castle. Or he lives around that area.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow.
Isn't that great? I love it.
It's great. I'm memorised by your photo.
Yeah, I thought I was going to have the best story, but I've not now. I've changed my mind.
Oh, Tim, I'll give you a hug. I just want to say a quick hi to Nick. Hi, Nick.
Yeah, hi, Nick.
Hi, I don't know if you guys saw it too. I also got a little fuzzy guest also with me too. So
Oh, look.
Oh, they're beautiful. They're beautiful.
Yeah, my cat decided to join in, Slinky, just being her usual. Oh, okay, I guess not anymore. Bye, Slinky.
All right, bye, Slink. See you later. So, Tim.
Yeah. Well, you invited me on, I think it was last week, and said it was going to be castles. So I've been to a few castles, but not ghost hunting in our country.
Yeah.
I know. It's
I
mad.
need to come down and kidnap you.
I know, it's mad. But anyway, I've been researching for the last week castle, and I've found this one, Hauska Castle, in Czechoslovakia. I don't know if anyone's heard of it, but it's amazing. Now, I was watching on YouTube, the history of this castle, and this chap said, Hauska Castle. I said, I knew it was. I said, it's Hauska Castle. I said, it's not Hauska, but I'd never heard of it before. But I knew something in my mind was telling me it was Hauska Castle.
How do you spell it?
Houska. Hauska Castle.
Is it Hauska?
I have heard it.
You see, I know. Now, I don't know whether I know because I've heard it in the past somewhere and I've forgotten. But I think I was there in a past life. Because,
wow.
Because I immediately said it's not Hauska, it's Hauska.
Right.
In Czechoslovakia. It's near Prague. It's not far from Prague. Anyway, as he started describing this place, I knew more and more about it. And I knew more before he even said. And this castle's I don't know why it's not been on the media before, but it's so strange. It was built on top of a cliff. There was forests and swamps all around the bottom of it, so there's hardly any access. So there's no trade routes to it. It was built in the 13th century. Now, I knew all this, which is the strangest thing. It is the strangest thing. It didn't have any cooking facilities in it. It had like a building inside the castle, and all the fortifications, like where they would have had the fortifications, weren't pointing outwards of the castle. They were pointing inwards towards this building.
How
inside,
weird.
going inside, like they were stopping something from getting out.
Yeah, that's weird, that.
Yeah, yeah,
that's not.
it's very weird. And in the middle of inside the building, there's a courtyard, and there was a big hole in this courtyard going down, and it was said to be bottomless. And for years, they saw people was disappearing, and sightings of this, like they described it as half frog, half humans, around the area. And then hear screams coming from deep down inside this hole. So they tried to fill it in. They tried first with rocks and rubble, but it wasn't touching it. It wasn't touching it. So I thought what they'd do is they'd lower somebody down. And they lowered somebody down. I think he was a criminal. He was condemned to death, and they said, if you go down, we'll let you off, kind of thing, you know. They lowered. This is all true, and I know some of it. I remember. It's weird. It is very, very weird. I've never had anything like this before. They lowered this chap down, and they heard it for ages. They were lowering and lowering and lowering. He was going down and down, and all of a sudden they heard this horrible screaming, "Get me out! Get me out!" But in Czechoslovakian, I can't speak Czechoslovakian. And they pulled him up. And when he got to the top, he'd got snow white hair, and he was totally insane. And he had to spend the rest of his he had to spend the rest of his days in the mental asylum. And he died in the end. He died quite quickly. So they put a big metal plate over it and concrete on the top. But it's still haunted today. But another thing, which is even the strangest thing, this poet we're moving forward to 1836 now. This poet called Karel Hynek Marcher. Karel, it's a man. Karel spelled Karel. He was a poet. He had this dream. Anyway, he woke up and he went and he stared at this hole where this hole used to be, and he was teleported. He sort of drifted off into this trance, and he awoke in 2006, the year 2006. This is all down. This is all down in records, because what he did the next day, he wrote to his friends and told them the story. So they've still got this record that he come from 1836 to the future 2006, and he met this girl on the street, and he wrote that there was all buildings and strange smoke coming out of chimneys, and he met this girl, and she got this small device in her hand, and she showed him all these pictures on this device, and he said there was these big towers, buildings with bright lights, so obviously they were flats. And so he wrote his friend that back in 1836. So that's
amazing.
That is strange. That is really strange.
That is pretty. Yeah. I'm sitting here listening to you guys, and I'm memorised.
Yeah.
And then it's not finished yet. I'm so excited. No, because honestly, I knew some of this. I did know some of this. I don't know how, but I did. Anyway, I've got a few notes here because it was happening so quick. We moved forward to the Nazis. The German army took it over, and Himmler, he was obsessed with the occult.
Yes, he was.
Yep. Yeah, he was.
Apparently, in the castle, they housed all these records, all this occult stuff. And Hitler, who was also interested in it, he they used him and Hitler and Himmler. Did say Himmler, didn't I?
Yep.
Yeah. He was. They used to hold rituals there with other high-ranking German officers, and then more recently, they found 3 skeletons somewhere. I don't know where, but somewhere within the castle. 3 skeletons, and they were dressed in German uniforms, and they had all been shot in the head.
Right.
And then, even to this day, in the forest below the castle, which you can still visit, apparently, you can still go and visit it. There's still sightings of these half-man, half-frog creatures, and screams can often be heard from coming from inside beyond this. Because I say it's all plated over, but you can still hear screaming. Apparently.
Isn't that strange? I wonder
that
if
is
it's
amazing.
That's been. Sorry, Tim.
Why haven't we heard more about this? Because that's a fantastic story.
It's cracking. It makes you wonder, doesn't it? Though it makes you wonder whether there's a secret room down that hole in the walls, because there's a lot of castles.
Yeah.
Boromir, and you've got the water like a well, right? And a lot of these wells have got secret doors.
Well, look at the amount of places
which takes you into tunnels. Yeah.
Well, look at the amount of places, right, guys, in the world, right, that people to concentrate, and I hope this doesn't offend them. This is just my opinion, but people to focus on, like, sorry, Jenny, please forgive me, love me forever still, but people concentrating places like Bran's Castle, like Edinburgh Castle, Chillingham Castle, Leap's Castle. So Jenny's got to kick me right in the shins. I can feel her kicking the shins right now for saying that, right? But she's got a wee bit of fire in her, so I'll be getting kicked and shouted at. I can even hear her from Ireland. But the thing about it is, Tim, as Tim's saying, there is so many beautiful castles out there that people forget the castles that stand, like, that are there, because they're too focused on the big ones. Yeah. And as Tim said, it's you don't hear about these castles. Like, I never knew about this castle. Well, I knew of it, but I didn't know its story until obviously Tim's brought it up. So there should be more exploring on castles that are not even getting looked at, because she's got to kick me. I'm going to comment because they're building up. Okay, wow, that's incredible. Wow, amazing, Lynn. What castle was it, Lynn? She's talking about the picture.
Kate, it's called Ewloe Castle, and it's Ewloe, and it's in Flintshire, North Wales. It's only small.
And then, Lynn, do you think Emily could be related to you?
No, I don't, but I do feel that because I've been going there since I was a small child, and it's used to be. I'm always there. I've always gone there, and I'm always in the woods, and I'm always there. It's my go-to place when I want to chill out. I'll sit by a tree, give it a hug, But I think they know me there.
No, please. Robert says, needing to lay off the cheese before you go to bed. Jenny says, well, look who it is. Nick, top of the evening to you. See you later. Thank you for coming on, TJ. I'm in big trouble. I'm listening. I've got my leprechaun shoes on. I can imagine. I can feel a few kicks to the shin for that comment. Nick, Joe, what about America? Does America get any famous castles?
Yeah, it looks like it does.
Yeah,
I've never been to any of these, but
honestly, I remember that from someone told me several years ago that, contrary to popular belief, that because people think we don't have them, but we actually do. I mean, obviously not as frequent as like you would see in the UK or other parts of Europe, but I was told that there's at least a few castles that do exist throughout the United States. Of course, even though these are not, I mean, for me, the closest thing I've ever gone to castle-like wise is, well, they're not castles, but they still have that structure to it, is undoubtedly some of the old maximum security prisons like Mansfield Reformatory or the closest one, Joliet Prison. They all have this
prison.
Yep,
Boy, is that a
they all
sight.
have that. Yeah, they all have that kind of castle look to it. But of course, the difference was those days, those prisons were meant to intimidate people if they broke the law, which they don't make those kind of prisons anymore. So that's the closest I've ever gone to as far as castles are concerned, is really just the old maximum prisons.
Well, do you know the good thing about it is, like, obviously, you look, when I say castles, right, because most people don't even know this, but when you say, like, castles, people automatically think, you know, kings, queens, princesses, you know, history. But then you look at, like, as Nick's saying, and Joe's saying, you've got prisons. We've got one over here called Lennox Castle, which I always speak about, and it's was a mental hospital. It actually closed in 2002, I think it was. Then you've got the likes of like Barony Castle, which is a hotel. So they are beautiful places.
I just want to throw out, there's another place I could think of that has that kind of castle-like structure to it. It's actually another prison. In fact, it's actually it's still a little bit far, but it's out in Iowa, and that's the Anamosa State Penitentiary. That one, it has the castle-like structure to it. Unfortunately, though, and I thought I should tell Joe too, if you do decide to look it up. Unfortunately, that's still a prison that is still being operated by the Iowa Department of Corrections. It's not open to the public as of right now, which, you know, despite its historic significance, but it's still one of those prisons that not only is still operating to this day, but still also has that castle-like structure. I think it was built back in the it was somewhere in the late 19th, early 20th century. I think it was like the 1870s or 80s it was built, but it had that castle look to it as well.
What about Mott and Bailey castles in America? Do you know, maybe because we had a lot of Mott and Bailey castles before they were turned into stone castles, if you know what I mean.
Yeah,
so they were out of wood and
well, the closest one to us that I found is in Ohio.
Yeah,
it's called Franklin Castle.
And I just thought to myself, like, thinking, wait a minute, what am I saying? I've been to Franklin Castle, actually. However,
it was built in 1865.
That's correct.
Oh, wow.
Right at the end of the Civil War. However, at the time when I went to, Tom McNicholas actually went with me too. That was actually one of our very few visits we made, because this was during when COVID was huge in 2020.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, though, at that time, I mean, whether it was during the pandemic or not, Franklin Castle was closed to the public. I know they recently reopened the castle, but at that time we couldn't gain any type of access in. So we were only able to go out. We were only able to stay outside. But Franklin Castle actually certainly does have a reputation of being haunted.
Yeah.
And I actually have not even told you guys this yet. I just haven't had the opportunity to do it, but I actually do have a slideshow for Franklin Castle. So I will eventually be presenting that place. Yeah, I will be presenting that place real soon on Nick Files.
And, you know, a lot of these places, it seems like they were built by the wealthy or immigrants from Scotland.
Yep.
They Scots are at it again.
But there's one real. It's been there for as long as I can remember. It's in Madison. It's on John Nolan Drive area. It's a I think it's still a bicycle place.
Ah,
But that place is eerie looking from the outside. It
I can.
looks like a castle. It's got all the looks. It's all brick and I don't know the history of the building, but I'm thinking I'm going to look into it one of these days.
Can you feel like a negative energy coming from it, Joe? Is it drawing you in there?
I just get a eerie feeling, but part of that, it's just because it doesn't fit.
Yeah.
I mean, everything that's surrounding it, might have been built in the 50s or the 60s, maybe even the 70s, but it all looks, and that one just stands out.
Yeah, brilliant.
And I don't know what it was before, because as long as I can remember, it's been one of these famous bicycle shops.
Yeah. Wow.
But that's the closest I've seen a castle up close. But some of these, there's quite a few of them. There's a couple of them really eerie looking in New York. Mm-hmm. One's right on the Hudson River.
So you see, maybe that was the idea. It was they built those buildings there, like castles, to keep invaders out or to keep themselves safe within.
If I could actually, if you guys don't mind, I'm going to share the screen for just a minute here. It's actually on some of these prisons, including that one I was just talking about in Iowa. This is, like I said, it's called the Anamosa State Penitentiary. And like I said, it's not far from Cedar Rapids. I just looked it up. And you'll see very quickly that it has a very castle-like look to it. So here it is. So this is the actual prison itself.
Yeah,
you guys can see that, right?
Yeah, it does.
Wow.
It's very like, Georgian, really. And
yeah, cheers.
Yeah, and it's also very much like Renaissance, that Renaissance feel about it. And you've got the decorative towers at the top, it's a power surge, isn't it? That's saying power and wealth.
This was built back in 1875, but as you can see, construction of the prison was not fully completed until 1901. Because and just like a lot of these old prisons, it was built using limestone from the nearby quarries in Stone City. This was actually where, and I'm sure you might have heard about this, Joe, but this is actually where serial killer John Wayne Gacy actually spent brief time here when he was living in Iowa.
Really?
But unfortunately, yeah, that's where
prison, huh?
That's where he first was before he started doing before he became a serial killer. This
Killer
is where
Clown.
he Yep. And as
Pogo
great
was his name, I think.
Pogo the Clown, yeah.
Yep.
But as intimidating and as great, there's no doubt in my mind that this place is probably haunted. But like I said, unfortunately, the prison is still in operation, so you can't gain access unless of course you commit a crime in Iowa, or if you work as a prison guard. That's the only way you're going to get.
No, but it'd be kind of interesting to see how close you could get to it to take pictures.
It would, although I also was told that I did say that, although I also forgot to mention that although the prison is still in operation, and I have looked, I mean, as of right now, the Iowa Department of Corrections has no plans of closing the prison, at least not yet. They have no plans of building a new facility.
That's because they don't have the money to build a new one to replace it.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah. When you look at the chimneys, can you see all the chimneys on the towers?
Yep, right over here.
It's fantastic. Very impressive. Yeah.
I think the reason how how you're able to get up close and take pictures of it is what I was going to say was, although the prison is still in operation, typical of such prisons that are still in operation to now, there is a prison museum just outside the building. So this is probably where the museum is at, which I think was
Joliet's got one too.
Yeah, I think it might have been a former work shed or something, which is now the museum.
Yeah.
So
I got pretty close to that. But see,
Yeah.
Joliet, the difference between Joliet and that one is Joliet's not open.
Yeah, that one closed
It's not.
back in
It's running
2002.
more like tours now than it functions as a prison.
Right. Now I got one other picture here. This was of another prison, but this one really lives up to
I
the name
really
too.
like that.
Yeah,
I
it's
do.
really cool.
I do, yeah.
I'm always hoping maybe one day they'll eventually have the money to build a new facility and they could eventually open this entire facility up for the public, because I'd love to investigate and see what's been going on. Now the next one I got here, this is another prison, but has the castle-like structure too. And hopefully you guys can see this one. Oh, wait, hang on a second. Let me reshare the screen. So this next one is this is the Kentucky State Penitentiary. So down in Kentucky this time.
Right.
And give me a second while I'm getting this ready. This, ironically, you guys can see this, right?
Yeah.
No.
Ironically, it's in Eddyville, Kentucky, which is in the western. It's ironically known as the Castle on the Cumberland because it's right on the Cumberland River. And this was built about the same period. It was built in 1886. It's also the only maximum security prison in the Commonwealth states, in any of the Commonwealth states, that has supermax capabilities. But you can see, once again, not as frequently as you saw with Anamosa, but you can see some of those castle-like chimneys on top of it. Again, hence its name, the Castle on the Cumberland.
It reminds me very much of a secure mental asylum.
Yeah, it does look like an asylum.
Yeah, it's got that look.
Sorry, guys.
It's almost like a combination of a prison, mental hospital, and castle all rolled into one, almost like a hybrid.
Yeah. It actually looks real. Sorry, guys. I was listening while I was taking a call.
Get in there. I would definitely want to get in there and investigate that one. Definitely.
Yeah, that's actually where they that's where the death chamber is too. That's where they execute prisons that are on death row. So, and once again, there are no plans to close Kentucky State Penitentiary, but even though this one is also still in operation, it's not surprising. But unlike Anamosa, which they probably don't say too much about, there are already rumors that this prison is haunted. As a matter of fact, there was just a couple years ago, there was a book recently written about the Kentucky State Penitentiary being haunted. So I assume they probably spoke to inmates. They probably spoke to guards about all the activity. So it's definitely a very haunted prison. It would be awesome to investigate, but again, as long as it's in operation, I mean, I sometimes still ask too, what would it take for us to have an investigation at a place like this?
Do you know, I'm the total same when it comes to certain places that you're not allowed. Like, I would love to go to, I know this is a wee bit off topic, then I'll go to the comments because the comments have been building like nothing. I would really love to go to Bulskin House. Problem is, they're not really they're doing tours, but I'm thinking, no, please, yous all go out for the night. I don't want people running about me. I want to be able to do this myself.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah.
Yeah, you know, some places where they're like, yeah, we'll charge you for a tour, and you're like, no, move the people out. Like, let us in. I'm going to go to the comments, guys, because they have been building. Maybe it's an alien, Kate says at the bottom of the pit.
Yeah.
Jenny is, oh, there's your alien dude. Tim, what are your family roots? Any check?
Do you know, I'm actually into ancestry, and I've traced my family tree back to 1640.
That's good.
Oh wow.
But there's no checks up to 1640. But obviously, when I've got all these, it's before that. It's 13th century, so
1200.
Yeah.
That sounds pretty cool.
Which side did you check, Tim? Both sides,
Oh,
parental.
Yeah, on both sides. Yeah.
Yep. That's pretty cool.
Kate says
Kate says,
Alcatraz. Oh, wait, Alcatraz.
Most of my family from Oxfordshire and Ireland.
Right.
Yeah.
see, I would love to do ancestry, but do you know what it is? I always joke, right? I know what my ancestry DNA is going to be. I'm going to have Italian in me. I'm going to have German in me. I'm going to have, the different ones.
I think everybody has, though.
I would be gutted. I would be gutted if it came back 95% Scottish. Jenny, I'm looking up at castles in America and they're absolutely stunning.
They are.
Robert says, look at the old London Bridge, took it down stone by stone, to America. Lots of deaths went with it also. Jenny's saying, wow, and she says, that's a prison.
Referring to Anamosa State Prison, the first one I was showing. What do I have to do to get in there?
Oh, wow. Jenny says, what do I have to do to get in there? Just tell them that you're Irish and you'll kick them in the shins. Hey, Robert. Kentucky Fried Prisoners. Hey, Robert. Hey, Adrian. Robert, solo invested. Yep, definitely. Jenny says, I know you had that good-looking Irish look. Oh, it's Craig. Hey, Craig, guys, check out Ghost Babe Paranormal. Also, check out Wolf Roy Paranormal with Adrian. Where am I? Craig, hi, all. We've once investigated the castle. Oh, come on, Craig, you know I'm dyslexic. Right, Nick, hit it out.
Hi, all. We once investigated the castle. I don't know if he said that. I don't know how to even say that.
AOY.
It's been. Sorry, when you go, Nick.
It has been modernized, but the energy in there was incredible, especially in the untouched older parts.
Oh
wow.
Yeah, I've been there.
I'm a European, Matt. That's made me laugh. Robert says, lots of ice cream. In fact, is that Adrian? I'm not too sure. It could be David. Who's commenting just under that one? I'm just assuming. Robert says, lots of ice cream fans about Lois's family. And Jenny's laughing. But, yeah, as Adrian. Yeah, it's no, I just didn't want to assume because I sort of went Adrian first of all, and then I went, oh, geez, what if it's somebody else? But yeah, guys, definitely check Adrian out. He's a good guy. Good guy. Think the world of him.
Do you mind if I show one? Do you mind if I show one final picture that kind of has that castle-like look to it too? There was one more.
Why are you asking me? It's your show as well. Do what you want. As long as you're not taking your clothes off, I don't care.
Yeah, I know. I thought of one more prison that had that kind of castle-like look to it. This one, believe it or not, this one's actually in our state. Unfortunately, however, though, it's further down. It's not Joliet Prison, actually, Joe. But what you're about to see, it's going to remind you a lot like Joliet Prison because it kind of has that same looking structure to it.
Right.
So this is the last one I'm going to show. And it's hard to believe this is actually a prison to begin with. This one here is called Menard Correctional Center. This is down in Chester, Illinois. That's down in southern Illinois.
Oh, wow. Look at that.
I like that. That's very Roman.
It's this one is.
About that.
Even got a lion sitting there in the
stone lions.
That is cool.
That tower on the left, that's new, isn't it? That tower on the right of the picture, that looks new.
Well,
good.
Right, the tower on the right is new.
The frontage is very Roman.
It is. Now this is Menard Correctional Center is the second oldest operating prison we have here in the state of Illinois. This was originally established back in 1878, although again, like typical prisons, it took several years for it to be fully built. It wasn't completely built until 1889.
Wow.
They used inmates.
Yeah.
They used the inmates to build the prison. They got same thing. They used limestone from the nearby quarries. And interestingly, because this was in the town of Chester, which it's literally right across the street from the Mississippi River, prior to 1970, it actually, because it was in the southern part of the state, prior to 1970, it was originally known as Southern Illinois Penitentiary. And unfortunately, once again, this is another prison that's still in operation. It has no plans of closing. But what I like about the structure of this prison in particular is that while it does have some of that castle-like structure to it, if you notice, obviously, even though you can only see one, there's actually, you don't see on the others because it's on the other side. There's actually two signs that have two stone lions on them. It's got skeleton keys. I mean, one person and I think you guys are going to agree with this. One person actually said that this place actually looked more like an ornate university than a maximum security facility.
Yeah.
See, to be honest, I would, for first impressions, I would have said it was more like a university building than it was a correctional facility. But me and wee Jenny are going on a trip to this place, and we're moving out the prisoners so we could go in.
Well, do you know,
Jenny says,
Nick,
absolutely.
We've got a city by us called Chester, and it's full of buildings like that. It's
it's actually city. You guys might find this a little bit hard to believe, but Chester is not only notorious for Menard Correctional Center, it's actually notorious for two other things that I'll just throw in. Chester is actually, believe it or not, was the founding location of I can't remember his name, but he was the person who lived there. He made the character. People say Chester is basically the home of Popeye, the Sailor Man. That's where he was.
I knew there was a reason I was trying. I was like, what the? There's something about that has nothing to do with the prison.
Yeah, it's they even have a Popeye festival.
Yeah,
Nick,
that Popeye was built on, based on, was right there.
That's correct. And also the other thing too, and this actually does have something to do with the prison, is that I don't know if you guys have ever seen this movie. I haven't seen it myself. I think either the prison does make a brief appearance, or at least it's mentioned. I don't know because I haven't seen the movie yet. It was also in some way it was referenced or may have made a brief appearance in this came out in the early 90s. The movie The Fugitive with Harrison Ford.
Oh, I freaking love that. I love that film. Absolutely brilliant movie. Nick, I've sent you a picture and it's for Craig, because Craig sent me when I was just looking at my message there. He said it's Hay Castle, and he sent me a picture of it. It's a beautiful building. Right, I'm going to kind of go through the comments, guys. Adrian says, I'm a huge troll. I didn't want to tell everybody. Kate says, you could say that to Tom, who, oh my God, Kate, Tom has killed my cheeks today. My cheeks are so sore. Honestly, he killed me last night. Robert says, no one needs to see that. Birdie! Oh. Kate says, oh my God, Lynn, smash glass. Adrian wants to go. He says the guard tower is definitely you dish. Aye. The guard tower is definitely a your addition. Jenny says, absolutely brilliant show as always. Great crack, love, laugh, Irish slang, nothing else. But if it's got me into that prison castle, I'd go with whatever.
Yeah.
Adrian says, well, so much for that idea. I'm too pretty for prison. Well, you knocked them dead. Noreen says,
there actually is one other thing I forgot to mention about Menard Correctional Center, is that as cool of a building as it looks, I mean, it's, as you can see, it's even quite beautiful, even for a maximum security prison. However, I didn't want to bring this up, but there is kind of some sad news regarding that prison. Although the prison is still standing and in operation, about 6 years ago now, in 2018, and we never even saw this coming, was that they unfortunately demolished the administration building, as you just saw. So I'm sorry to show, this is basically when they demolished the administration building.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
And it's just they demolished. I mean, the prison wings, like the cell blocks, they're still standing, but the middle section is gone. And they didn't really say too much of why they tore it down, other than that they said that the administration building was just not being used frequently. And I thought to myself, I get it's still in operation, but why couldn't they just like open that part of the prison as a museum?
Uh-huh.
Again, I get it's still in operation, but the one thing that they could have done was that they could have maybe put like a fence perimeter around the administration building to keep the active parts separate, so people can get access into the administration building. And when I found out that they tore it down, I got to be honest, I was heartbroken by it.
But see, this is what happens to half of these buildings, and it breaks my heart.
Yep.
2 minutes, guys. I'm going to quickly get into comments. Nori says, Chester, UK is not far from me, Lynn.
Yeah.
And Adrian's asking, sorry, Lynn, what were you saying, love?
I said it's 8 miles from where I live.
Adrian's asking.
Yeah, I was
sorry,
getting to
love.
the question. Yeah, no, the inmates didn't demolish it. It was the state of Illinois that did, and they just didn't really give much. And again, even the residents of Chester didn't even know this was going on. I think it really shocked a lot of people. And even though this was still a place that, again, is still keeping, people who've committed crimes behind bars, obviously it represented a part of the town's history. And if you think about it, like I said before, what's even more heartbreaking to me was that it was demolished 140 years after it was first built. And although obviously it was built with inmate labor, obviously it was, people were there to be punished. Yeah, even though people were originally there to be punished, still, you have to remember the fact that prison was literally built by inmates with the sweat of their two hands.
Yeah.
So it's heartbreaking that they demolished it.
Sorry, Adrian. I'll just kick your shins. It was half kidding. But basically, do you know what breaks my heart, guys? And I'll be really honest. There's beautiful buildings out there. Do you know what, guys? We've done well. I know in 3 minutes and we've no went off topic. Mind you, last night, what happened was that last night the two shows switched.
Oh,
it looks like I've just gave the fingers on that live. I do apologise, but the way it switched, right? So we went last night, and oh my God, guys, when I say my cheeks are still hurting me, I'm not exaggerating, because the nonsense that happened halfway through. And then backstage, honestly, I came off my live with the cheeks like that.
Yeah, my cheeks.
He's still hurting. But what breaks my heart, guys, really, really does break my heart, is beautiful buildings that sit there, and I'm going to be really controversial when I say this, and I'll put it straight to the point, but owners don't give a shit. They don't give a shit. They just leave. They just leave.
Yeah, over here they just want to demolish these places just so they can build a damn Walmart or something like that. And if I had, in this case, like with Menard, I get it's still owned by the Illinois Department of Corrections, but if we knew that place was in danger of being demolished, I probably would have put some type of petition together to save Menard Correctional Center, the administration, because as you just saw, Joe, I mean, you only saw the front of it. It actually did have a similar look to Joliet. In other words, like if you look at like Joliet Prison, this was basically like the Southern Illinois version of Joliet Prison. It had a very similar structure to it.
Wow.
Yeah,
Right.
they're doing a similar thing out with that bloody train thing here, aren't they?
Yeah.
Whatever it's called. The amount of ancient trees they've just bulldozed down, and
Yeah.
Yeah.
and buildings, and it's ridiculous. Just
They
to say,
do
They've
that.
been trying to do that with other
Yeah, they do it a
castles.
lot with a lot of buildings, don't they? They've been doing it round here.
yeah,
Where they say, right, we're building a new road. We're going to buy your house off you. They give you
Yeah.
like 75% of what it's worth, not the full price.
yeah.
They move them out, get rid of them, and then they don't touch the buildings and nothing gets built. Do you know, you've got family homes have been there forever, and then they've had to leave, have no choice, and then they don't build anything.
Yeah.
See, the problem is, sorry, the problem is this, right? Sorry, Nick.
You're fine. Go ahead.
Basically, I've lost my train of thought now. I generally have. Come back to me. I'll go in the comments and it'll come back to me. That's like when Tom showed us the 1800s mansion house when he was exploring. They've already knocked it down to build a warehouse. Disgusting. Thank goodness we have a listed buildings in the UK. This is very true, Kate. Noreen says it's shocking the amount of beautiful buildings that have been demolished locally by the council when they've plans for something else. They mysteriously go on fire, then they get demolished.
Yeah.
And then Kate says that's why history is preserved more in Europe. Totally different rules. It certainly is, Libby. Sorry, Nick, what were you saying? So I take it in America, you guys don't have listed buildings.
Even though we have something called the National Register of Historic Places, which is designed to, protect places like that, and while that may be true on some locations, there's other places out there that even when they're listed, they're always going to find other ways to tear down a building just so, either to have that land. And in fact, I just decided to just do some research because I just realized what I just showed you guys. I even looked, were there any plans of, like, in this case, what they did with Menard? And there are no plans at all whatsoever. Like, they're not building a new administration building. And in fact, I'm just going to share this one final time. This is the only image that I was able to find of what the prison now looks like after they got rid of the administration building. I had to use Google Maps for this, but this is what it looks like now. And you can see the administration building is gone completely.
Yeah.
Wow.
They still have the stone lions and skeleton keys. They have those parts, but the administration building, it's nothing but space in between. And they didn't even do anything to even replace it. So it's like, why the hell did they even tear it down in the first place?
Yeah.
It's horrible. Nick, are you sorry, honey.
Oh no, you're fine. I mean, that was just, like I said, it was heartbreaking when we found out about that.
It's terrible.
It's like, if you think about it, because again, it was built between 1878 and up to 1889. Those inmates, again, in spite that they were sentenced there, still these inmates spent several years making all this.
Yeah.
And these demolition companies destroyed it in a matter of minutes.
Part of them are in that
years
building.
later.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Have you got that picture that can show Craig's?
Yeah, I'll show it. Give me 1 second.
No problem. I'll read Noreen's comment. Oh, sorry. I don't know why my finger slips that way. Noreen says they're listed so they can't officially demolish. So they go on fire, then they become unsafe and get demolished. It's so obvious what's going on. Do you know that happened to us in a wee place called the Air, and a hotel went on fire? And that actually put a few businesses, including the train station, out of action for a while. Because no one could touch it and they were trying to find the owner of the hotel. And then they said it was condemned and it wasn't safe and blah, 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 blah. And then mysteriously it went on fire again. Mysteriously, right? And I use that word very, very fine because I totally agree with what Noreen's saying. When things are listed, they mysteriously go on fire.
Yeah.
So I totally agree. The other problem is, and I'm a mother myself, but you've got youths that just go in and trash places, have no respect. You've got people who go up there to drink or whatever, right? And it's so heartbreaking because these buildings are beautiful buildings, but
they
they've
are.
just been destroyed.
Yeah.
Like Lennox Castle, it is a beautiful place. The problem is, it sits in the middle of nowhere. It's absolutely in the middle. When I say nowhere, it's nowhere. It really is. It's heartbreaking, guys. It really, really is.
I mean, if you look at Menard, I mean, even though it's still running as a maximum security prison, it's still a dangerous place to be in. Like I said before, prior to the demolition, it was a beautiful building. It was just right on the opposite side of the road from the Mississippi River, so people could see if they were on a boat. And it was also not too far from Carbondale. I also forgot to mention it was not that far from Carbondale, which is where Southern Illinois University is located. So there was a lot of education involving that prison, not just the history, but of course also for anybody that eventually wanted to work at Menard Correctional Center. And you know what? I got to throw this out too. I said this earlier about Anamosa State Prison. Menard John Wayne Gacy was also at Menard too before officially being in Chicago.
No way.
So two of these prisons that I showed is where John Wayne Gacy served time. And even still to this day, Menard still does receive, criminals from the Chicago area, despite that Chester is about 5.5, 6 hours away. But still, the bottom line is, for what it was, when the administration building was still there, having that castle-like look to it, especially with the sun shining on it. It again makes you hard to believe that it even is a prison, but no matter what the case was, it should have never been demolished because it represented the history of the town.
Yep, no, I've got to agree with that, definitely. Because it's so sad. What about you guys? I mean, what's your opinions on buildings that have sat there and
Yeah, it's terrible. I was just thinking, we've luckily we've got an abbey, Delapre Abbey. You've probably seen it. It's very haunted, and we do investigate a lot down there. But that's actually all been renovated, which is good. But you very rarely hear of that.
That's the problem.
I got that picture of that castle ready to go if you want me to present it. Look. So
Let's see.
I'm actually this really surprised me by its appearance. So here, check this out.
Gosh.
Wow. That's very Jacobean.
Look at that. That chimney stack. That chimney stack.
Tim, do you think the front of that's very Jacobean? But it looks like, as we're looking at the left side, it's got half a castle built on, like a tower.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Isn't it? It's like a tower, but the rest looks very, very Jacobean without the intricacy on over the windows. That's really interesting. And this piece in the front here, you can almost see this. I don't know if it's a building that, but you can imagine the steps going down that, coming down onto another part of a large garden. Can you know? So, you know what I'm saying? Interesting.
It looks English with the garden, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
Again, Tim, look at the right-hand side and the chimneys.
The chimney stack, yeah, look at that.
Yeah.
Now, do you know, Lois, what year this castle was built? Because
I'll have a wee look just now, my love. Right now, castle. I'll give you a bit. I'll give you.
There's one other castle I could think of here in the United States that's actually a pretty famous haunted castle, and in fact, Jeremy was there, I think, about 2 years ago. I'm surprised we didn't bring it up. It's actually located in the state of Vermont, and that's Wilson. That's Wilson Castle.
That's a good name. It's very
You're heading out.
Bye, Joe.
Right, guys.
Right. You've got a show, haven't you? Right, bye, Joe.
Bye, Joe.
Bye, my love. Sorry, Nick. Just tell me you got up.
There was one other castle, and that was Wilson Castle. That's located in Vermont, and they actually had. It's probably the only castle that I heard of. I mean, not only that's like official, but I think more importantly, as far as I know, I think it's also the only type of castle that's ever had like paracons at that castle.
Really?
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah, I've never been to that one yet, but I know a lot of other people who have. And Jeremy was actually there about 2 years ago. If he was here, I don't know if he did an investigation, but I know he had to go up to Vermont to Wilson Castle to do an interview for a documentary.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Lo, what a great idea. Using a castle for a paracon.
It would be awesome.
Oh, that would be amazing. Do you know what I'm disappointed in when you talk about paracons? I'm really disappointed that Scotland doesn't do a paracon.
Yeah.
I'm really surprised. I'm really surprised that they haven't done that yet.
All right. That's no problem. I'm very disappointed in the whole Scotland no doing one, but it doesn't really surprise me, to be honest, because there's not really that many teams.
No.
So that just means I need to travel down to England or go to America. I don't mind. It gets me to Scotland. You would.
Tim's trying to say something. Go on.
Yeah, I wondered if you've been to Craigenos Castle, Lynn.
Which one?
Craigenos in Wales.
Craigenos? No.
Yeah, I used to live right near that.
Did you? I know people have been there. Yeah.
Really haunted. Really haunted.
Yeah, it looks it. I would like to go there actually. Craigenos. Yeah.
Craigenos. Yeah.
Yeah.
So here's something else. I'm going to show I found some other pictures here I think you guys will like as far as castles are concerned. One here actually, and I've mentioned that I've actually mentioned this one a few times to you, Lois, because the one's in Scotland. The other one I'm going to show is actually in France. And you guys will be impressed with the structure of these two castles. So I'm going to show the one from France first. This was actually one of my very first haunted castles I ever studied during my early days of studying the paranormal. This was back when the Travel Channel used to have all these other cool paranormal documentaries predating Ghost Adventures, of course. So this castle that I'm about to show, I'm able to pronounce it, even though it's in French. It's known as the Chateau du Puy-Martin Castle.
Oh,
so here,
that's the mouthful.
Love it. Love it.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I really love that.
Yeah, I live in that tower up there with the hat on.
It looks more German. It looks more German to me.
It does, but this was built in France. But it's funny you mentioned one of the towers, Len, because which tower are we talking about? This one or that one? The one on the left or the right?
The one in the big tower's on the right. It's the one on the left. Next one. Over.
Oh, that's this one. It. Okay.
Yeah.
See the reason?
I want to live in that one, Nick.
It's funny you said, well, I thought you originally, because what I was going to say is, first off, this castle has been standing since 1450. But
amazing.
This tower, I thought originally you were talking about this one, because this tower right here, it's the North Tower, is actually the oldest section of the castle. It was originally built back in the 1200s.
Wow.
And undoubtedly, it's actually a hotel. You could actually stay the night.
We'll have to get booked in there. I'd love that.
and no doubt at all, there's a story. There is a ghost story involving this castle of the lady of Puy-Martin who used to live there with Puy-Martin. And the story goes, as I remember, was that the Lord of Puy-Martin was involved in one of the I don't remember which war was involved with. This was obviously not revolutionary. It was a different war, and he was off to fight. But unfortunately, the lady became, quite lonely, and then she met a young knight, and they began, of course, that you guys probably know where this is going. She started an affair with this knight.
Cool.
Dirty women.
Yeah, unfortunately, the Lord came back, and he caught them both in bed, and the man killed the knight. He killed the knight, and then dragged his wife up to the North Tower and locked her in. I mean, according to what they, obviously we didn't have pictures back in those days, but I forgot to mention, the lady of Puy-Martin, as described by accounts, she was very beautiful, but her husband was very, very jealous. So seeing her with another man drew to this rage, and when he locked her in the tower, it was basically her final place that she ever stayed, because slow months went by and her husband never relented. And I mean, I'm sure she probably gave food, but it was said that 15 years after she entered the room in the North Tower, she died, still a captive.
Oh my God. I'd say, no sex if they should let me out.
Well, and the story goes too is that after she died, her husband then buried her in part of, basically walled her up in part of the castle wall, basically in a way to kind of show that she would be in prison for all eternity. But however, as typical of these stories go, her spirit has finally escaped her prison and now haunts the chateau as the White Lady of Puy-Martin.
Ah, right.
I love it. That is amazing. I want to go and find where she's bricked up, and I want to go and speak to her.
Yeah,
they actually
do. Brilliant.
They actually do say where the spot is, like where supposedly she was walled up, because they in fact say Puy-Martin's greatest mystery is within the castle, the wall of the North Tower, and even the owners. People have always they have talked about maybe breaking it down, but when they did a haunted hotels episode about this almost 25 years ago now, I don't know if they still own. Well, I don't know if they still own it. I know it's been within the family for centuries, but they interviewed both the father and son, and the son actually spoke English. His dad spoke French, and his son, he always had interest of wanting to see what was behind that wall. But his dad said, don't touch anything. Don't dig the wall. We want to keep the mystery alive, basically.
Yes, I would. Well, definitely, yeah.
So it's and now his dad, when he was interviewed, he said he's seen the White Lady twice in this castle. I think he said the first time was by the stairwell. She was just this tall, beautiful figure just standing by a window. The encounter only lasted a few seconds before she eventually vanished, but it felt like a long time. And then the second time he saw her was this time in her room. And I remember from the documentary, they say that those who've seen the White Lady say that after each encounter, she always returns to her place of suffering, which was where she was originally imprisoned in the North Tower.
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm just quickly going to go into the comments, guys. Noreen says, all right. Aye, sorry, Noreen. I'm getting lost. My mind's distracted by other things. Sorry, guys. They're listed so they can't officially demolish them. So they go on fire and becoming. Oh, sorry, I have read that one. Sorry, guys. I blame my mind going 100 miles per hour. Kate says Italy seems to be best at preserving all their buildings and culture heritage. I'll take you to Castle Loma. Oh, Adrian, I hope you're talking about me. Linda, hiya Linda, hiya Holly, Linda says, maybe use X-ray to see through the wall. Well, there's a possibility. There is a possibility. But Nick, you've been a phenomenal.
There's rumors supposedly say that even though it's been centuries, they say possibly parts of the remains of her skeleton might still be, but we don't know for sure.
Yeah, you'll never know.
Wow.
It's one of those ones. I mean, there's so many beautiful castles out there. You've got Edinburgh Castle.
Yeah.
Yep.
I've been to Edinburgh Castle. It's the most popular attraction in the Scottish capital, to be honest. It's also very haunted. Guests have reported visits from prisoners of the American Revolution War. French prisoners from the 7th-year War, and even a ghost of a dog wandering the dog cemetery on the castle grounds. Since Scotland is one of the top destinations to visit, which is a lie, visiting the castle deserves a high place in MD's bucket list. Do you know what, guys? I've been to Edinburgh Castle. It is very, very beautiful, but a very, very good walk as well. It definitely is a good walk. But I'm fascinated with all the different ones abroad. All the beautiful places. Do you know what one we've no spoke about tonight, guys? And shame on us.
Tower of London.
I wasn't even thinking that one.
Was it? Yeah.
Sorry, Nick.
I was actually going to bring up one other place. I said that I had one more picture here that I said.
Oh, sorry, honey.
Oh no, it's totally fine. This one's also in Scotland, and again, I learned this again from one of the older paranormal shows. It's not much of a castle now, but probably back in its day, it probably must have been a fantastic place. This one's called Dryborough Abbey, and this is located near the River Tweed in Scotland. So this is a picture of what the abbey looks like. Unfortunately, though, you're going to notice very quickly, not much of it remains now because it has been ravaged by war for centuries.
Oh yeah,
lovely. That's beautiful.
But I'm sure when it actually looked fully as an entire abbey, I mean, it had to have been just an incredible building before and torn down by war. And once again, there is stories of that area being haunted. Supposedly it's haunted by monks. And there's also a hotel nearby that's called the Dryburgh Hotel. And it has a very similar story what I talked about. I've told Lois about it. That's where the story of the Grey Lady of Dryburgh is said to roam. And in fact, the hotel where it stands was supposedly where the Grey Lady's former home was. And again, trying to keep it real short. Story goes that this lady was that she was basically a nun who had unfortunately had fallen in love with one of the monks, from these earlier times, which of course, the fact that, you were going against the rules of the church or the rules of God as they have. I mean, the connection she must have had for this monk, must have been very, very strong. And, as typical of these stories, once again, as much as they try to keep their affair a secret, it only took so much for their love affair to be exposed. And unfortunately, the monk himself was actually executed, which, was executions like that were pretty violent, in those times. And this woman, I mean, she just couldn't resist living without him. So she jumped into the River Tweed and committed suicide. But unfortunately, it said that she's bound to this area for all eternity because when the monk had passed away or was executed, he was actually given the last rites. So it was basically allowing him to go upwards to heaven. And, and of course, that wasn't the case for the Grey Lady because, suicide was considered a mortal sin in those days.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Well, so look at.
I was just gonna end it that I've actually heard she, unlike the other one I was just telling you guys about, she said she's not very much of a very friendly ghost because the
Yeah.
Grey Lady wanted to hang on to what she had and is angry due to the fact that this love, this passion was taken away from her, and she doesn't like sharing it with anybody else. So, that's, I think a lot of people out there would be definitely scared if they encountered the Grey Lady, but I myself would want to investigate Dryburgh Abbey and the hotel nearby.
Yeah.
Definitely. Well, let's look at it this way, right? There is many a building out there, and many a story out there in all the castles. See if anybody says there's no stories like this in the castle, then they're lying. But there is many a story where maids were having affairs with the High Lords, they got pregnant.
Yeah.
I've encountered it Barney Castle where the maid was thrown out the window because obviously what she'd done. I've encountered myself and I was with Paranormal Footprints and I can't mind who else. But when they first took me to a castle, I'll leave undisclosed. I'm not saying I'm a medium or psychic. I'm no. I don't even put myself in the lovely Barry John, and I've done Barry John's development classes. I can't tell you how I know. I can't tell you how it happens. But if I get drawn to somewhere or someone, it's amazing the information that I get fed. So we went to this bit of the castle and I started getting, do you know when I know, right? And I'm not saying I'm Spider-Man either, but I get the tingling. Like, I really get the tingling. And, like, things come to me, and again, I can't tell you how, right? It's life's greatest mysteries, as I say. So I went to this bit of the castle, and I sensed that I just wanted to start, like, hushing a baby. Like, really, really hushing a baby. And they said, right, what else? And I said, I want to walk towards this window and I want to throw myself out it. And that's what the story was. There was a woman who committed suicide with a baby.
So
Yeah.
you're picking up on that energy and she's letting you feel what she was actually feeling and how it happened. So you took on all her emotions.
It was pretty.
Go ahead, Lois. Go ahead.
No, on you go, honey.
No, I was just going to say, I often wonder with what you just mentioned, like this place I just mentioned, Dryburgh Abbey. I often wonder if you ever had the opportunity of going to a place like that, if you would be drawn.
No, Dad, I've never ever been there. I'm not saying that happens all the time.
I'm saying if ever given the chance, if you're able to go, because the story goes too, in this case with the hotel, is that she's said to be very active in room 216. So I often wonder if that would be the room that would draw you in, in this case, like with the Grey Lady in this case.
Do you know what? It doesn't happen in all places, but when it does, honestly, I'm like an antenna. Seriously, some of the things that I come away with, and I don't even know where it comes out of. I just could be sitting there and then something comes to my head or flashes in my head, and I've got to follow it. I'm almost like a sniffer dog. I did say that I'm a sniffer dog. It's the only way to describe it. I'm like a sniffer dog who, if I get a sense and I see stuff, I've got to see it. If I don't see it, it's like a thing with, like that time at Barony Castle when we were in the ambulance room and I was firing back and forth in the EVP and the EVP's answering me, I'm answering it. And this woman at the very end said to me, how the hell did you know this stuff? And I said, I don't know. It just happened. I can't describe it. I can't tell you where it comes from. So there you go, folks. You learn something new every day.
Yeah, I think they're using you as a vessel because
Uh-huh.
you're more open to it most probably than what you realise you are, and
Well-
you're taking it on and it's coming through you.
Well, do you know, funny enough, a lot of people pick up on that and they'll say you've got a lot of spirits in your house. And do you know what? I am the world's worst and I can feel me get
Whiskey.
booed. Well, I need a good few whiskeys, let me tell you.
Yeah.
But, sorry,
Not a
Libby.
vessel. A wine vessel.
Oh. I would have to say Jack Daniels for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm J-Lo. I'd be there
Yeah.
with you.
Bourbon, yeah.
What about you, Nick?
Not that Scots rubbish.
Oh, like as far as alcohol?
Oh, aye, alcohol-wise, Nick, what about you?
Even though, I'm definitely not like Tom, because like I said, I'll only have like a beer
Oh,
or two.
you can't, no one can beat Tom.
I can.
My type of alcohol that I usually drink, like as far as beer goes, is I'm a pretty big fan of Blue Moon.
Oh.
Not heard of that. Well, obviously we're not over here, are we? Yeah.
Well, that's the problem.
I'm not sure why. I mean, I know it has a sweeter taste, but for some reason I just enjoy it. I'm not sure why.
Yeah.
Maybe it just has that rich taste to it. I don't know what it is, but I think Blue Moon's my choice.
Yeah.
Do you know what? When in the younger days, I used to be wild. I would drink, but I couldn't. I know, honestly. But do you know what it is? I need to find the inner young again. The inner young. But no, Jack Daniels. That is a problem. We've been, I think, see, for the last few minutes that we've got, we might as well go wild because we've done 1 hour 37 minutes with no nonsense.
Yeah.
We've been really good tonight, ladies and folks.
Yeah.
We have.
Oh, we've been extremely good. I think, to be honest, Tom's wore me out for last night.
Yeah, he does with all of us.
Hysterical. You know what, Nick and Tim, right? I sort of accidentally fell over this chicken.
Oh yeah.
And it was last year, and I accidentally found it on TikTok. And what it was a yellow chicken. And this guy, whoever was doing it, was making it sing to Purple Rain. Right?
Bloody hell.
So it was just like the music, and it was this going.
Oh my God.
It sounded like it was singing Purple Rain. So then every time I watched, it was a different song, and it was like all rock songs. And I'm just creasing when he come up with that yesterday. That was it. I was gone. Right.
I'm going to fill everybody in, right? Oh my God, here goes. So Lois had Kate, right? Lois had Kate, and Lois thought it would be a good idea to bring Tom on. So when Tom came on, it was good for the first 5 minutes. He was a good boy. And then suddenly he brought this cock, and it's a chicken, up to the screen, like this. Oh my God. The show just burst. It was like,
God, we lost our structure after that.
oh my God. Do you know that picture that you showed us? Sorry. That picture. Aye. That picture you showed us earlier on of the place being demolished. Well, that was the way my show went last night. For the last half hour, it was like, oh my God. Yeah. We went off backstage and it was just 10 times worse.
Yeah,
I was like, oh, wow.
Right, Slinks.
But I just want to say, Tim, thank you very much
Oh,
for
thank
being
you.
here the last 2 Fridays. You are a godsend and a pleasure.
Thanks.
I did want to say something.
I'm trying to soak it into you.
There actually is something I just wanted to mention for next week's shows. I forgot to mention
Yep.
this to you guys. Unfortunately, I will not be available for Thursday or Friday because I'm going to be heading out of town. And I actually got the Michigan Paracon coming up. So
Wow.
yeah, so I'll be out for those days. I already told Jeremy too with Supernatural Talk I won't be able to do it either. So just wanted to give you guys a heads up ahead of time that I will not be available really for any of the shows at all next week because I'm leaving on Wednesday and probably won't be back on Sunday. See, the Michigan Paracon does things a little bit differently compared to other Paracons. So like when you see the schedules for them, usually it's either Friday to Sunday or Saturday to Sunday. But for whatever reason, for the Michigan one, they operate a little bit differently. Again, for whatever reason, they operate in this case from Thursday to Saturday instead.
That sounds actually pretty cool. That does sound pretty cool.
Going to be a lot of big names there. I think actually we're getting a few people coming out from the UK. I know MJ Dixon's one of them. She's coming out.
Yeah. She's cool. She is cool, definitely. Yeah. Next week, guys, on the Thursday, we have Chris Murray coming in for Ghost Squad Scotland. He is an amazing, amazing human being.
Yeah.
He does tarot cards. He's gave me a reading a good couple of times, and he's smacked me out the park with both. He's been really, really good. I must admit, he's really good. On Friday, I'm going to put a question mark because I'm not sure entirely what's happening. We may have a guest. We may have a subject. I will let you know in due course. Big announcement. On the 29th of September at 6 a.m. Oh my God, what did I do to deserve that? 6 a.m. There will be a new show and it will be done by myself. I am going solo for one. I'm taking one for the team, shall we say.
Just like me with Nick Files.
Oh, yeah. Just like you. Do you know what? I'm following in the same footsteps as Nick and Wayne. So you've got the Nick Files, you've got Spookanori, then now you've got the Dark Archives with Willow. So that will be good. I will say to you, it's strong viewers' discretion advised, because some of the topics that I'm going to speak about will be gruesome. It will be quite hard-hitting, but I will be very, very respectful while I'm doing it. But just to put it out there, guys. And young Tim, what is happening on Thursday in the Weird Room?
We don't know yet. We don't know. I don't know if Dan's got, because we didn't see Dan last night, so I don't know if he's got anything in the pipeline or not. I don't know yet, but we'll have to see.
What are you doing Friday?
I can come on. Yeah, I can come on again. I'd love to come on again.
I was actually going to say, since I'm not going to be here on next Friday, you might as well have him back.
Yeah, I'll come on. No worries.
Hold down the fort for me.
Yeah, okay.
That's that. I need Tim to hold down the fort. Poor Tim. What is happening in Nick's world for the rest of the week?
Not very much. I think it's really just going to be getting myself ready for Michigan, so I'm looking forward to it. And honestly, I had kind of another crazy day of work, though not in a bad way. I actually got to tell you guys, this is going to sound kind of funny. I still can't believe this happened, and I'm not going to sound I'm not trying to sound too personal or anything like this, but so like among the stuff that I wear to work, I usually have a box cutter, and it has a holder to it. And at one point, see, unfortunately, we had corporate today, much to our annoyance, but there wasn't much for us to do. So at one point, I had to go use the restroom, and I used one of the stalls. And when I stood up, just ready to head back, all of a sudden, my box cutter, it fell into the toilet.
Oh my God.
Oh no! I mean, thankfully it was clean by then, but unfortunately, it was one of those toilets where it automatically goes off, like when you stand up. So it went right into the hole. It literally went right into the hole, and I hear that, and then I was like, "Geez, my box cutter!"
Oh my God!
I think I'm flushed down.
Oh my God! Linda says, or even
I wasn't fast enough for me to get it, so I was.
Oh my God!
Then I was like, at the same time, like, geez, I hope that doesn't clog up the pipes now.
Oh my God!
I told it to my store manager, and I literally said, "Listen, if anything starts happening, I just want to say sorry in advance."
Listen, Nick. Let's have a wee bit of honesty. You blocked it with something else, but I'm saying nothing. Linda says, or even drill tiny holes for a light source and for a camera. That's what Nick will need today to get that box cutter back.
She's referring to when I was talking about the wall. That
was, Noreen says, similar story, Inspect Hall. Oh, Noreen says, no escape now, Tim. Hostage situation. Well, what can I say? He came on one show and he never went home.
I never went back, no. I'm like that woman in that castle. I'm here forever.
That's it. I've got him in the dungeon. I'm slowly getting him in. But no, guys, listen, you keep up this time and you'll be here forever.
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus. It's going to be one of the ones that I'm going to have a dungeon so big, I wouldn't know where to stick people.
Oh. He's in Lowe's dungeon.
It's dungeon there.
Yeah, I am.
Well, you beat me to it, Lo. That's because me and you were thinking alike, Noreen. You were thinking what I was thinking.
Oversight.
Oh, God. Oh, God. But, guys, please have a good weekend and stay safe.
Excuse me.
And definitely we will be back next week, guys. And I just want to thank you. I know I always do this and I probably drive you up the wall, but I'm absolutely grateful for each and every one of you, including you guys in the chat. I really appreciate you. Without you, we wouldn't have these shows. But yeah, guys, please catch us next week. Nick, have a good holiday. Wayne, I hope you're having a good holiday in Greece. You showed me pictures earlier on. I was like, I'm jealous. You're sitting there by the pool with an orange juice. Noreen, thank you very much.
Thank you, Noreen.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
I just love Noreen.
Yeah.
I really do.
You're great.
You guys take care, and we will see you next week. Bye, everyone. Bye.